Good afternoon, colleagues and students. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to introduce our distinguished speaker today, Professor Chen Jun. Professor Chen is currently a professor and chief scientist at the National Geomatics Center of China, located in Beijing. Professor Chen is an academician of the Chinese Academy of Engineering and also a fellow of PAIR. Professor Chen served as the president of the International Society for Photogrammetry and Remote Sensing during 2012 and 2016, and also the president of the China Association for Geographic Information Society between 2003 and 2007. Professor Chen has published 4 books and over 300 papers, received more than 20 awards, including the World Geospatial Innovation Award in 2015, the State Science and Technology Prize in 2004, 2014, and 2017, respectively, and the Asia Geospatial Lifetime Achievement Award in 2017. Professor Chen is a world-renowned expert in operational land cover and topographical mapping with remote sensing. He produced the world's first Earth land cover map at a 30-meter resolution 20 years ago. For short, Global Land 30. 30 meter sounds not that small, but it's very, very small when we compare with the diameter of the Earth. I think probably you know the diameter of Earth is 12,000 km. Okay, in other words, if the diameter of the Earth is 1 meter, the resolution developed by Professor Chen is 2.5 micrometer, similar to scanning electron microscope. The innovation of a scanning electron microscope won the Nobel Prize in 1986. So today, the invention of Professor Chen has been widely used by United Nations and over 100 countries. I was intrigued by topological pattern of natural surface at the small scale, but it's more intriguing and more important to study the pattern of our Earth at a large scale. Professor Chen used the geographical information system and big data to identify and study pattern and process of the human-nature interaction, which form the scientific basis for sustainable development. His project has been selected by the United Nations as one of 16 SDG good practice in 2020. Professor Chen's work will continue to promote the sustainable development of China and the world. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming our distinguished speaker, Professor Chen Jun. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President Wang, for your very warm welcome. So I'm old friend of Paul Yu. I came here, I think, first time in 1997. Yeah, at that time, Professor Xiao Liding and Li Zilin, they were junior professor. But nowadays, you see, they're becoming very famous chair professors, and Zilin Li got retirement. So it's, but I came here many times. Even last year I was here and had good discussion with Xiao Li and his colleagues. So it's my great pleasure to be here to give a talk on how geospatial information always says spatial temporal information for high quality sustainable development. I must say that if I'm giving such a talk in Chinese, it would be much better, easier for me, because English is not my I would say main working language. So if I'm not clear for something, please apologize me. So you all know that the United Nations has launched 2030 agenda for sustainable development with 17 sustainable development goals. We call it SDGs, and then 169 targets. So the main purpose for that is we should take the development as an indivisible whole. Means, for instance, in China, because we just pay attention to economy, industry. We don't care about environment. So if you look at this way, it's a cake. Means there were 4 goals, like water, ocean, land, and climate change as the background. Here, there are 8 goals for social equity, harmony. Because when people have a good environment, they'll be happy. When they are happy, they can work hard. So here there are 4 goals for economy development. It's a famous SDG cake. Nowadays, I would say the implementation of the 2013 agenda is becoming a top priority for United Nations nations and the international societies. Even for China, our president, our leaders talk about SDGs when they are speaking to international societies. So many often when you go to academic conferences or even sometimes when I go to the hotel, there is SDGs on the wall. Yeah. So what's interesting is that in 2017, China has adopted another concept called high quality development. Yeah. Means GDP is important, but also we should have harmonized, coordinated social economy and environment development. So sometimes people were a little bit confusing sustainable development and high quality development. I looked at the details of these 2 concepts. For instance, here you see for high quality development, it has 5 key elements: innovation, coordination, greening, openness, sharing. But you look at the SDGs, they have 3 key components. One is innovation. The other is increasing wealth. Should not come at the expense of ecological environment. The third one is fair development. So I have an understanding is that sustainable development is a baseline thinking, but high quality development is a high standard requirement. It means that high quality development should be also a sustainable development. So I have had a discussion with some professor in China, very famous people, professor working on sustainable development. We have a feeling high quality development and sustainable development, they share similar philosophy. The basic contents are similar or almost the same. So this time sometimes we use high quality sustainable development instead of SDG or high quality development. It means that the concept is the same. When we talk in Chinese, we say high quality development. When talking in English, we talk to United Nations, we will say sustainable development. But what we say is that no matter high quality development or high quality sustainable development, the whole process is very complex. Like this one, if you look at this, you can see this is a very complex process. It's a consuming of natural resources. There is a growth of population, increase of individual demands. So have social, environmental, and economic issues. So in order to have a successful implementation of this sustainable development, we need to know how far is from 2030 SDGs now, and where are the major gaps? What actions to be taken to go to achieve the SDGs? So it requires a review of the process towards SDGs or towards high quality sustainable development at both national, regional, and global levels. So it's becoming a must. But this one has posed many technical and institutional challenges. You see the whole, as Professor Wang just said, the global is dynamic, very complex. How can we do that? So also in 2015, the United Nations General Assembly adopted a resolution saying we should use an indicator-based and data-driven approach to measure or to monitor the progress towards SDGs, but with timely, reliable, and disaggregated statistical and geospatial data. So United Nations has defined 234 indicators. And they have also listed a number of data, metadata, including geospatial, Earth observation, and other data. Of course, the primary data are statistical data. Why they mention geospatial information? Because most of the sustainable development activities will take place in geospace, like buildings, like rivers, like traveling, all in geospace space. And many SDG goals, targets, indicators have the geospatial components. So without geospatial information, they could not measure all the SDGs and the indicators. But it's a very crucial task for government agencies and academic communities. So since then, United Nations encouraged people, encouraged nations to work with them to develop an efficient approach for that. At that time, I was serving International Society of Photogrammetry and Remote Sensing. At the beginning, I was Secretary General, then I was President. So I joined United Nations activities. So we organized a number of workshops with United Nations Geo. So to try to find how can geospatial information can contribute to 2030 agenda. For instance, we have organized some workshop in the name of our society, as Qihao, Professor Wen just said, we're working for the same society, like how global land cover data can serve, can be used for that. Yeah, even we have set up a small scientific program to use geospatial information to support SDGs. This photo was one we took in Beijing. At that time, Zilin Li, a professor here, former professor here, joined also the workshop. So since then, you see there are more and more publications in international journals and in conferences regarding how to use geospatial information for SDG monitoring and implementation. So personally, I did case studies in China because I was a member of United Nations Geospatial Information for SDGs. So we sought at that time, all the case studies were done for single indicators or targets or goal, but not comprehensive measurement. So I choose a small county in Deqing in Zhejiang province. So it's not far from Shanghai, not from Hangzhou. There was a famous mountain called Moganshan. Yeah, it was very famous. It's a place where former president of Republic of China, Jiang Jieshi, got married there, very famous. So I choose this to conduct a comprehensive SDG monitoring using geospatial information and statistical information in 2018. And in 2019, a further work was done for develop a spatial knowledge service hub for SDGs. Later on, we have formulated a 5-year action plan towards SDGs based on that. So the first two regarding to a comprehensive monitoring. The later refers to transforming the monitoring results into actions. So since last year, we are doing the 4th step, means how can we have a continuous regular updating of the process towards SDGs. So today I will start by telling you how a local SDG monitoring was doing. Then I talk about something related to sustainable territorial space studies regarding to the land and space. Yeah, Xiaoli is the chair of a research institute. Yeah, and also I think if we want to have good sustainable development studies of our cities, of our global space, we need to have real 3D data. This is something I'm now responsible in China for the mainland. First, let me start with the 5 steps of SDG monitoring at a local scale. You see, the first step is localization of all UN global SDG indicator framework. We need to consider the adaptability, comprehensiveness, and measurability. Because the United Nations has defined the global indicator framework with 234 indicators. It's basically defined for national level, not for a province, not for a county. If we would like localize that, we need to develop some good approach for that. The second step is spatial data processing, because we need to find good data for each indicators, for each target, and for each goal. So United Nations called upon the geospatial disaggregation of all census data. For instance, we need methodology for that, and also change mapping. Then all indicators should be calculated. Some of them can be calculated directly using statistical data, but some of them should be calculated using geospatial data, or something by combining of geospatial and statistical data. Then we did the calculation of all selected indicators, and for every single goal. And for goal cluster means economy, social, and environment clusters. So it's evidence-supported progress assessment. So the results is a process report. Both at that time, I did that in both English and Chinese. The 4th step is to formulate tangible actions towards the next 5 years, including vision, roadmap, and dynamic monitoring mechanisms, something like that. So the first step is we localize SDG indicators according to the local situation. For instance, the United Nations has SDG 1, it has 14 indicators. For SDG, for instance, 11, it has 15 indicators. After a careful examination, we found 5 indicators were good for this county, because the county is small. And for instance, for SDG Goal 11, we selected 9 indicators. So when we do that, we not only should consider where the local situation, but also think how can we enable international and national comparison. Yeah, because if you can select or define your own indicators, but you cannot compare with other countries. Yeah, United Nations benchmark use that. But also there's another thing is whether you have good reliable data. So you see, finally you have selected and redefined 102 indicators for the small county, and 17 were adopted directly, and 42 were revised, and 7 were substituted, that means newly defined. At this time, during this process, I have been working with United Nations Statistical Division, with the National Statistical Bureau and the local Statistical Bureau. What's interesting, I'll say here, you see, with this one, we cover all the 16 SDGs. Here, they don't have housing because it's inland county. But with this one, we cover all the SDGs. So I say it's a comprehensive measurement. Because if you look at many other SDG assessment, they have selected several SDGs, several goals. But this one, we covered our goals. Then here we used more than 200 type of data for these studies. What's interesting here, in Zhejiang province, in Deqing, they have very good preparation of the data. Here, it's a very rich county, yeah. So, but we need to do some more processing for that. For instance, you have the census data, population. But if you look at the population, you see they don't have spatial variation details of the population. So how can we do that? We used land cover data, because at that time we have national land cover mapping at 2 meter resolution. So we try to establish the relationship between population density and the residential building, because for each building, we know how many levels and how many average population per person, per family, something like that. So in this case, we can disaggregate the population density at 30 meter spatial resolution. Yeah. So with this one, you can see now more spatial details of the population. That's important. Yeah. This is a 30 meter population density map on top of topography information. Yeah. Then we calculate all the 102 indicators in 3 different ways. One is directly calculation with statistical data. It's 85 indicators using ratio, rate of change, index, or other calculation. The second is direct derivation from geospatial data, like spatial density calculation, coverage classification. And there are 2 indicators they were calculate using both statistical and geospatial information. Yeah, for instance, this one is basic culture service. This one is essential health service. This one is wetland change. It's 6.61 change in the extent of water-related ecosystems. And this is a ratio of land consumption related to population growth rate. And also this one is proportion of forest change. Now I will take this example, indicator 1.4.1 as an example. For instance, in order to calculate this indicator, you need to know how many people are, how can they go to the nearest hospital. So you see, with this one, we have the population, distributed population, and you have the road networks. So you can calculate the time cost from any point to the nearest hospital. So with this one, you see, we can generate time arriving at the healthcare facilities. For instance, 64 people could travel to the nearest healthcare within 15 to 20 minutes. And with this one, you can further generate a map like this one. All this color means arrival time at nearest healthcare is within 20 minutes. This one means it's over 20 minutes. 20 minutes is a local standards. So it's what really the United Nations called geospatial disaggregation. We disaggregate all the census data. Yeah. So it's very important for spatial planning, spatial analysis. With all the indicators selected, data prepared, calculation of indicators, we can go further to assessment. One is assessment of indicators. So we use SDG index or dashboard defined by United like standards. If not, we'll try to use the national plan mandate requirements. And the second level of hierarchy is assessment of every SDG goal, like SDG 1, 2, 3, like that. We have developed different methodology for that. Then we try to analyze, assess the economy, social, and environmental clusters using different approaches. For instance, here we have used find the metrics for comparing and ranking. The blue one means the results of the indicator is very good. And this one means is relatively good. So you see from this table, you can see all the indicators for this county is good or relatively good. Okay. So we classify the indicator into 4 different quarters. There are also some indicators we could not find references or metrics, so we could not rank them. So in total, for the 102 indicators, 79 were compared with benchmarks and ranked. And among them, you see 85 reaches are close to the objective of United Nations SDGs. 9 needs improvement, 2 facing challenging. Yeah. So now we are speaking with the data. When we release the results, not released before officially release results, the local leaders, county governor came to us saying they would like to have better data. I say no, because we evaluate that with the data. Yeah. So the next step is individual goals. It's even more complicated. For instance, sorry for that. For instance, SDG 6 is for water. It has, if you look at this one, they have many targets. But when I don't know how to say it. When we talk to something in Chinese, we look like 1, 2, 3, 4. A moment, a must 4, 5. But you see, with so many targets, people couldn't understand. So in this case, we try to group the local SDG targets into safe drinking water, water resources, and protecting water-related systems. Means we group the numerous targets originally into fewer subsets. I call it local targets, like this one. And for each of them, we try to find a focus of an analysis. Like this one is clean water. This one is volume, quality, and efficiency of water resources. This one is sustainability of water-related systems. And then the analysis will be based on calculated indicators we just finished. For instance, this one they use 6.1.2, 6.2.1 to support the focused analysis, because the analysis is more qualitative. And we use this one in digital results. But of course, we use also time series data, imagery maps, and knowledge for that. So for this one, you see, finally, the water is second level, not the first level. Yeah, people couldn't, at that moment, people could not understand, saying, oh, we are in Zhejiang province, we are very good, rich of water resources. Why is that? But finally, understand our assessment is correct. So for instance, this county has 60 SDGs at good level, 6 at to be improved, second class, and 2 are face challenge. So it's some of the results like that. It's the water evaluation in the last 36 years, 35 years. Yeah, this is the safe drinking water. Now, we found that the water quality of all the rivers in the county, before it was quite bad, but in the last 10 years, the water quality of all the rivers has been very good, because they have spent much money investment for wastewater treatment in both urban and rural areas, including shutting down some polluting industry, with ecological expenses. This is a place where they have drinking water resources. But we found also some problem like this when they have still populated residents there. This is the change of water-related ecosystems. From the result, we found that it's changed from natural state, something like 6.7, 6.5%. Yeah, it's also some we have. This is one of the largest, I say, lake. It's a very beautiful lake there, and we found the environment is quite good, but it's still they have some very small patches. It's not good for the protection of environment. Yeah. So you see, we have finally analyzed all the 16 single SDGs. Then we will do some grouped analysis for economy. For instance, we found through relevance analysis found there are 5 SDGs related to economy growth. So it's different than United Nations SDG cake. For that, they have 4 for economy, but here it's 5 for economy. And also 5 for environment, 11 for social harmony. So we used all that for the analysis. What's interesting is that some single SDG may be allocated to 2 or 3 SDG clusters. This is the results of that. You see, some of we found that the county has made significant good process because in the last few years, there is a good progress of economy, but they maintained also a good ecological environment. What's interesting, you see the coordination among the three clusters is something like that, like a low coefficient of variation. Yeah. One of the example is crested ibis is back. Crested ibis is a famous, also endangered bird species. It disappeared in the beginning, in the late of 1955 from this area. So 10 years before, the local people brought back some crested ibis to the Xiazhu Lake, this famous lake. Nowadays, they're becoming much number increased to now something like 500. At that time where we are doing the case study, something like 340. Why is that? Because you see, if you look at the indicators, refuse collection of harmonious treatment is something 100%. The rate of air quality is good. It's something like 97 point. So the digits could explain why. Yeah. After before on basis of that, finally we managed to prepare a progress report, both in Chinese and English. What's interesting, you know, that for Chinese version, for instance, it's 70 pages. For English one is 80 pages. Yeah. So in this report, we give a brief introduction of the methodology. The major focus is assessment results of each single SDG, and also the results of 3 SDG clusters. So this report answered 2 questions, basic questions. One is, how is the county from 2030 SDGs? Yeah, because people don't know that. Saying, oh, we have a good economy, we have a good environment. What's the facts, evidence? So we tell people with geospatial information and tell the facts. The second question we answered is how to conduct comprehensive monitoring of progress towards some SDGs by integrating statistical and geospatial information, because the United Nations called for that. 10 years before when I attended the United Nations meetings, many often it was United States or Denmark or Mexico. Brazil, they gave good cases. Very few works came from China. So this work provides good case studies from China. Yeah. So the progress report was released in the end of 2018 at the first United Nations Geospatial Information Congress. This gentleman was Deputy Secretary General of United Nations. So the United Nations was very happy because he asked people to do that, and nobody gave the first example. So we gave that. From our case study, we can say the overall SDG progress for entire administration region can be well measured and assessed by using integrating geospatial and statistical information. Yeah. So at that time in Nature published a very short message for us. Yeah. Zilin Li was a professor, a colleague of Xiao Li. And so as President Wang just said, the United Nations was very pleased with our work, and they have selected 16 good practice for the first time, yeah, and published a booklet. So we are one of them, yeah. This is the only one from China, and also the only one regarding the use of geospatial information for supporting SDG implications, yeah. So because we tell the people how can we use geospatial information to do a comprehensive SDG monitoring at a local context, and how it can be transformed into local actions. So the final step of that is transforming the results into actions. If you look at this one, if you remember, there are some indicators that basically failed. Good. Some one need to be improved. The same for SDGs, single goal, like industrial emission to be further reduced. Energy consumption and material consumption should be lessened. Public transport convenience to be improved. Yeah. For instance, people for public transport, local people say, you know, we are very good because it's small county, every people drive. But when you guys come, in particular, the students come, yeah, they should wait for quite a long time for the bus, for instance, because it's a small country. So they all need to be improved. So we have also developed methodology for that. That means we start from the results of the monitoring. We call it system knowledge. Then we'll move to the goal knowledge, like local development vision and priority. Yeah, like a 5 years plan. Then we need to find what actions should be taken. Yeah, it's called the tangible decision and actions, or called transformative knowledge. So we have been working very hard with the local planners. What's interesting, local people are very smart, yeah. So we have good collaboration. Then we formulate a 5 years plan. They were very ambitious, saying that we would like to achieve all the UN SDGs within 5 years. But I very often tell them SDG is still on the road. Yeah, it's not be so hurry. This is the 5 years action plan. Also, we have English one and the Chinese one. We have all the actions for each SDGs. Sorry, I forgot to put in English. We have also the local government agency responsible for that. They have also spent, how you say, designed concrete projects and budget for achieve to take all these actions. Yeah. So nowadays, people, the local people are still working, collaborating with us. So I think sometimes it's good to take a very large area for studies, but sometimes if you take a small one, I don't know how to say in Chinese, 就是解剖一个小的麻雀，是吧？也比较好做。So it's my style. But from this one, I think gives me some good experience, I would say. Yeah. So I think the next step, we should move toward more sustainable territorial space studies. You might know that recently Chinese government has launched a new national development plan called Building a Beautiful China. This national plan aims to support high quality development with good ecological environment and to pursue a harmonious existence of humans and nature. What I say before, you see, my son was, we're living in Beijing. My son, when he graduated, he worked in the United States for quite a couple of years. Then he decided to come back to China. Normally, he should go back to Beijing and stay with us. We're Chinese. We were not. We hope to be close to our children, but he decided to go to Shenzhen. Why? Because at that time, Beijing was very polluted by air pollution. So means without good environment, people would not stay, would not work. So I think building a beautiful China means we should have blue skies, green lands, clear waters, many other things, with harmonious relation between people and the land. Now it's much better in Beijing. Yeah. Last year I went to Carroll. We had meetings there. Oh, Qiho was also there. So we found China is very good. Yeah, I like to go walk and do sport, but in Carroll it's very, very bad. But China is very good. But for building a beautiful China, I mean, it's locate all the economic construction, social development, ecology, civilization activities onto the space or into a space. Yeah, my English sometimes not very good. Yeah, with different principal functions. And for that, we need also to develop digital spatial governance systems for the national territorial. 5 minutes left. Okay, I had too much to say. Okay, sorry. So its core issue is also systemic development. So I put a table like this one. For instance, our natural resources should provide capital values to supply ecology values, also to production living ecological space, and also transform people. You see, go inside like this one, people then will influence, the activity influence our natural resources and the land. On top of that, we support development patterns of national territory. So if we look at the national territory space, I think it's a complex mega system because it's a tangible material space that can be touched and seen. And but it has a clear and relatively stable spatial boundary, like Shenzhen could not take the use of the land from Hong Kong, something like that. But there is a contradiction between limited land and unlimited demands. Yeah, like Singapore, they said limited land, unlimited space. So I think for this one, we need holistic and systematic studies of national territorial space. I'm from the National Ministry of the Resources, so our ministry is responsible for that. Since the time limited, I go quicker. So we use geospatial information for that. Okay. In the past few years, we have been using geospatial information for national territorial space studies. Like this, what I prepared 4 reports for supporting our territorial space planning several years ago. Yeah, like spatial heterogeneity of national population, and also land subsidized at national scale, something like that. For instance, this is a result, the methodology how we do using geospatial big data to analyze where the people, like the spatial distribution and evaluation of population, spatial mobility of population, relationship with socio-economic development. Yeah, I have no time to go into details. Sorry for that. But this one, with this, we can see there is distinct regional characteristics and seasonal variation of population movement. And there is also for northeast China, Central Province, population movement basically is within provinces, intra-province movement. But for the other 4 major urban agglomeration like Jing-Jin-Ji, yeah, like 这个大亚湾, it's relatively smaller countries. Similar attraction radius is some 800 kilometers. Yeah, so I will not go details. We have also examined the relationship between population distribution and industrial layout, like first second and the third sector enterprises. Yeah. This is something we have done for population distribution and public services. We have done all that for healthcare, education, transportation, schools. For instance, we found that children in rural area will go to school for 2.8 kilometers far, but in cities 1.04 kilometers. So we have measured that over whole China. And so there is a large gap in spatial accessibility from rural residential area to nearest primary school. So it gave us a very detailed, the first time statistics and facts to our national planners for that. They were very happy with that. But what I would say is that all our analyses are quite not holistic, very comprehensive, because we don't understand how ecology could support social equity and how could support economic efficient. For international society, we call this one is a robust sustainable development, is all strong development, means ecological scale will constrain the social equity, and the social equity will influence economic efficiencies. So for the moment, I'm thinking of that we need to have a good studies of the resources, the assets, and the capitals of natural resources. How could they support the economy and the social equity? So there are 5 key questions we need to understand or to answer. The first one is for natural resources. What are time over? Okay, sorry for that. Let me give me a few more minutes for that. I'll go to the results. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So 5 questions we need to. I can have this discussion with Xiaoli later. Yeah. So recently we are working on another case study in Hunan province. They have good policies. I will jump from this one, realistic 3D data modeling. Sorry for that. So I was responsible for the national mapping for 2D. Things. Now we are moving to 3D realistic geospatial landscape model. Okay, I go quite quick. Okay. So because before what we provide is 2 and 2.5 maps. Now we would like to develop the real 3D maps for whole China. I'm the chief scientist for that. We have been. Okay, I would like to go to summary. Summary, I would say that now we have 2 keywords in China. One is high quality development or high quality sustainable development. The other is digital development or digital transformation. But for all that, they need geospatial information. Yeah, because the presentation, I guess I just told you, you can see it plays a very important role. I will not go to details. Yeah. Nowadays, people are asking for us stronger support to United Nations to the agenda. For instance, the United Nations just set up an overseas office in Deqing, where I did case studies. This is the first specialized technical center by United Secretariat called the United Nations Geospatial Knowledge and Innovation Center. In order to support that, China also has set up a joint Morganson lab for geospatial information by the Ministry of Natural Resources and Zhejiang provinces. I'm asked to chair the geospatial information lab. So we are asked to have 500 staff in 5 years. Yeah, a big laboratory. But the story behind that is now the United Nations is demanding more global public goods. China should be one of the countries to provide that. We should develop and provide that. But what I would say that there's still many issues to be investigated and developed in the future. One is more adequate indicator and adequate, sorry for that, indicators and goals. For instance, if I understand now the SDGs targets and goals defined by United Nations may not be suited to some our developing countries. Yeah. So we United Nations will be prepared 2045 agenda. How can we contribute to that? That's something we should work. The other one, we should develop more reliable geospatial data and tools, like develop 3D data, integrated alternative big data, and also in social media data and others. And also we need to develop online computing tools and platforms, because many developing countries, if they want to do SDG, they need that. And finally, we need more collaboration between universities, between United Nations members and industry. So when I come here this time, I think I'm looking forward to have discussion with Xiaoli and your colleagues, Professor Chen, yeah, to see if we could have further win-win collaboration with PolyU, because I had a very good collaboration with your colleagues during the last 30 years. I'm coming to see if we can work together. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Chen, for the, I think it's an excellent talk. You have done some pioneering work. I think that should be the role model for SDG assessment, maybe all over the world. I think it's really good. Yeah, it's my great pleasure to facilitate this session with Professor Wen, my colleague. I think we have both online audience and you, the colleagues here. So let's say, Professor Wen, if you agree, can you maybe read a couple of questions from the system first?
Okay.
Yeah, let's give it a priority to the audience online.
Okay.
Can you read a couple of questions?
Yeah. Okay.
Mm.
First, I think thank you, Professor Chen, for your lectures. This is a very important topic nowadays that every people concerned, over the globe. Today we, Professor Chen tell us, from not only from the global perspective, so SDG goal, how they develop and how this implement in China, use the Deqing Zhejiang province as examples. And after that, he further illustrate that how this SDG goal linking to building a beautiful China, this national strategy in the future, with a very rich of geospatial data, including the 3D information that he doesn't have the time to get into details today. And so there's a lot of this, a lot of interesting discussions, and we do have a lot of questions here online. Okay, so I think first questions are kind of a little bit tricky here, Professor said. A question would be the SDG 14, and why life below water is not considered in Deqing.
Okay, because Deqing is an inland county. It has no ocean part or sea part, not like Hong Kong. So I had a dream to find another case study area to accomplish both land part and ocean part studies. So I sought to work on that in Xiamen, but during last 4 years we had COVID-19. So we couldn't had the final discussion with the local government. So maybe I think Hong Kong or Singapore could take the first step to have a comprehensive monitoring and analysis of towards SDGs for both land and ocean part.
That made a lot of sense. Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Professor Chen. So Professor Ding, you want me to have these more questions? We got a lot of questions here.
Or you can have a break. Let's see if we have questions here.
Okay.
Anybody? Professor Chen, please.
Well, you have done a great job by presenting this lecture to us. I really enjoy it. Since you use SDG as the evaluation criteria, but I think not all the SDGs are equally important, right? Some may be more important than the others. How do you factor the different weighting factor for the SDGs in your research? I mean, do you use some areas like climate change more important than the others?
Okay. At the beginning of my case studies, our purpose was to provide a good case to United Nations. Yeah. So in that case, we thought we should follow the indicate framework of the United Nations. But all the indicators and targets and SDGs should be localized. In fact, there are some indicators are not so important. So, but at that time, we didn't take them off because we would like to provide results of what we call the comprehensive measurement. But in the near future, I think we need to develop something for measuring the high quality sustainable development with our own, how you say, concept. For instance, I thought the possibility to develop an indicator framework, which can correspond both to SDGs, but also to a high quality development, but can be measured with the same data set. So in next month, we are going to organize a seminar in Mogansan. In Zhejiang province, we try to discuss how can we work with that for high quality sustainable development, because for me, it's almost the same. Yeah. So we need to develop a framework for the standards, not only the measurement and the monitoring, but also for others like greening and like other things. Yeah. Thank you.
Can we have another question from here? Maybe Professor Wu.
Yeah, Professor Chen, very nice talk. I'm just interested to know how far are we from the research results about the SDGs to influence the government policy making. So what will be the incentive or benefit for the government officers? They take your research results to improve their policy making. So I see a good example in Deqing, but do you know other places in the world or other, like Hunan province, the example? So, I mean, will the results from research on SDG will be really useful to improve the policy making in different cities or counties?
I just gave another example about the population density studies. Yeah, something like that. You say, I don't know how you say it, for instance, for our Ministry of Natural Resources. When they do something, they always try to use data, speaking with data. So for instance, how to protect agricultural land. I think for many cities, it's the same. Yeah, they're using the results, monitoring results, and the analysis results to improve the decision making. The only thing now is that SDGs, for Chinese local governments, it's a little bit far, I would say, because they are talking always about high quality development. So that's why I said we try to now to combine them together, integrate them together to define a unique framework for high quality sustainable development. Nowadays, you see, I think there are 11 cities in China, they are selected as the SDG pilot study area, like Shenzhen, Taiyuan, even Huzhou. Yeah, I hope that in the coming 3 years, they could provide very good cases for that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you mind to read another question? It's a long
Okay.
question. I know.
Yeah, here are more questions. Okay, one of these for Professor Chen here is GIS has been used in many areas because we're in a digital era of the big data. So geospatial big data being using in the city operations, in urban planning, in many other aspects. So in some cases, the use of GIS data can be kind of controversy. And so one of the questions for you is, what is your viewpoint on balancing between the data transparency and the data security?
And now it's a big question in China. For instance, maps. Most maps are classified. Yeah, you can use that within your own organization, or you need to have a spatial treatment to reclassify the data. So I think transparency policy needs to be redefined. So in China, many scientists also calling for re-examination of the security data transparency policies. Yeah. And the other thing is that now we have more mobile data, for instance. So how could it provide privacy of people? Last year, I had an experience. One of my students want to use a trajectory data. We have a good friend from telecommunication. So my student went to him saying, "Can I have the data?" They say no. I mean, so for telecommunication, it's very strict. You could not get the trajectory data of you or others. Oh, sorry for that.
Okay, I saw a question here in the back, maybe. Dr. Jiao.
Thank you, Professor Chen, for your very impressive talk. I just have a small question about the 3 key issues of SDG that you mentioned in the introduction part. There's one issue, which is to ensure the increase in wealth will not come at the expense of ecology environment. But sometimes there will be some sacrifice in this part. For example, I also do a little bit of research about the SDG 11 sustainable cities and development. With the rapid urbanization, there will be more buildings and more impervious land in urban area, which will definitely lead to the decrease in green space and the water body. So it's hard to say that we keep the growth in GDP will not affect the nature environment at all. So I just want to listen your opinion about this part. So how we can keep the stable GDP development will not to cause some sacrifice in the nature land. Thank you.
I think now it's a big challenge for many local governments in China. For instance, Deqing County is located in Huzhou city. Yeah, Deqing is a county, a city. So this is where the two mountain theory came. It means the green mountain is good mountain. It's the green is money, something like that. Xi Jinping, as the president, Xi Jinping asked. So they now have been, how you say it, being, it's a big challenge for them now, because 我怎么说这个话？我来说中文，你看啊，你比方说，他们讲它是这个地方是什么呢？是一个生态资源富集地区。就这个地方，你看它那个青山绿水青山很好，是吧？但是呢，怎么把这个生态资源经济化，是吧？经济生态倒过来就经济还要生态化，是吧？然后呢，治理现代化，治理数字化，实际上这是他们3个问题。所以他们现在就是这个国家的可持续发展创新示范区，他就要想办法去破解这个问题。所以我都觉得呢，就这个问题呢，还并没有很好的解决，是吧？但是呢，不管怎么说呢，我感觉到就是从这个中国各地的话，政府现在已经把生态环境看得就非常重要了，是吧？不像以前盲目的上这个很多工业就不管，就是好多都是污染的。Sorry for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry for that.
This is a test of my translation ability. Yeah, if I can briefly translate, this actually is difficult. I think there are 3 things here. One is the ecological environment. The other one is actually the development. And the last one is the governance. I think according to the new philosophy, we should sort of balance these 3 things very well. Right.
So I think that we need to develop for us, we need to develop new methodology, new concepts for that. For instance, the human-land relationship is not new, but we don't have quantitative approaches to measure that. For instance, when we develop some new policy to increase the greening of the lands, what's its impact on the carbon? Something like that. Now we will only have some qualitative description. It's better we can develop some quantitative and qualitative approach for describing prediction simulation. It's something missing, I think.
Okay, can we have another question? Maybe yes, Professor Jiang.
Thank you, Professor Chen, for your very informative and inspiring talk. My question is related to the SDG total number 7 and 17 and number 11. From my personal interests, I feel is very important. It is about the smart city and community. My question is, I didn't see you have some indicator for this number 11. And how your realistic 3D initiative or program related to this number 11. So what's your vision on how realistic 3D can be help for this SDG 11 smart city and communities?
For instance, for SDG 11, there is a indicate 11.3.1 is a ratio and consumption of land related to the increased population. But currently, when we calculate the consumption of land, when we use 2D maps, you could not get correct, accurate results of that. With all the real 3D data, you can have, how you say, have accurate data. For instance, in China, we are going to use, recently Chinese central government has released a new policy to support well-developed countries with land features, land resources. This means you may have more land for that. But the question is that we don't have so many agricultural land to spend for urban expansion. So one possibility is have a best use of the existing lands. 这个中文叫什么？叫那个我不知道怎么翻译成英文叫。Sorry for that. 就是我看一下叫什么？叫是低效空间。Low
efficiency.
低效空间。For some areas, they are industry, but they don't have a very good output. They have very high carbon emission, something like that. Very high consumption of electricity and water. So in this case, the local government try to talk with them to ask them to convert a function of the lands. Recently, I'm doing some case studies. My colleagues, my assistant try to use 3D data and connect with all the census data like electricity, water, industrial outputs to have a dynamic monitoring of all the industry parks and area to see if it's lower efficiency or high efficiency. If it's low efficiency for a very long time, they will be asked to transfer and transform their functionalities. Yeah.
Have you or did you implement this 3D realistic 3D in Deqing case study?
Yes. Yeah.
So what kind of level of resolution you or data or geospatial data you implement operationalized in the Deqing?
No, see, if some case, no, I think it's they have all the buildings develop 3D models for almost all the buildings. The resolution is something like 0.02 meters, very high resolution. But the only thing that what they did is not real. We call the realistic 3D landscape model, as I thought. Yeah, recently I have just led I say national. No, it's called the design, the top design for that. For me, current data you are thinking 3D models is use software to take images, even take also photos and digital elevation models. You see a vivid 3D, but it's not a product. Now, what we are going to do, my colleagues are doing, is try to put digital elevation model and images and some other data, even vector data, into one file. So you can use one single like GeoPDF to take access of the data and illustrate data. That's something we try to do. Yeah. It's different than what USGS has developed a 4D data product for many years. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. In the interest of time, can we suggest Professor Wen read the last question from online?
Okay. I think there's a lot of questions here. I want to ask an interesting question, actually not from online, from myself. Yeah. And so, Professor Chen, I know that you have a very successful professional career, studying as a geoscientist in the National Geomatics Centers, and then later on, you get involved in the ISPRS, become secretaries, and then eventually presidents. Later on, more at the global, Blue on Earth observations and a lot of UN activities. since we have so many young, people here, so what advice you have for these young people in terms to internationalize their research achievements in order to reach a higher goal at the international level?
Oh, yeah, it's a good question. First of all, I would say we should try to do some concrete issues first. Yeah. Nowadays in China, I think many young people has to write SAI papers. For me, SAI papers is important. Oh, sorry for that. For me, paper is important, but first you really do something. Yeah. I remember when I was young, my first job was to use GIS and remote sensing for urban planning. It was the beginning of the 1980s. My professor, supervisor was a very big scientist. He said, CHEN Jun, China is, at that time he said, China is very poor. You came back from France, you should do some real work. So it gave me very good experience, try to do something concrete, useful. Then you can write good papers. That's my suggestion to our young colleagues, first suggestion. And the other thing I think is that you should try to, be a member of international societies. My first international workshop was in 1982. At that time, I was a student in France. So I joined the ISPS Commission 7 symposium. Yeah. So then I followed the ISPS. For many years, I started to organize workshops. Then I started to be chair of a working group, president of commissions, and then something like Congress director of 2018 ISPS Congress in Beijing. So I grew up with the society. Then finally, when I bid for a Congress Secretary General and the president, people say, oh, this guy, young guy, I know him for many years. They vote for me. Yeah, see. So my suggestion is that you should not jump up for an international position or try to be part of an international society and join, just also start from the very beginning, yeah, and contribute. That's, I don't know how to say it, even now, I think the world is changing and there are many, many opportunities. So try to have more friends from not only the local community, but from international societies. So when people know you, they will say, Qihao, be editor-in-chief, be editor-in-chief again. They, yeah.
Thank you. I think this is really inspiring because many of us, okay, even the Hong Kong is an international pole, okay, try to develop into innovation and technology hub, global hub, and many of us, I think, still need to learn a lot from you, from your personal experience, and how to, from the national researcher, top researcher, and to become an international star, in different areas. And I realized that last year you was elected as a fellow of International Science Council. That is the highest level of the international societies. So congratulations. And thank you for sharing, your stories. I think many of us learn from you. There are a lot today. So
can I say, okay. I have one suggestion. So you see, as I said in the beginning of my presentation, I'm an old friend of Paul Liu. When I went to the hotel, I say, oh, this hotel was a building, yeah, where you lived at.
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
it's our quarter.
Yeah, yeah, see, old friend. So
Mm.
this time, Professor Chen and Professor Wang, I'm really would like to see if we could have some more collaboration. Because as I said, if we start with something like Deqing case studies, something like very concrete issues, it's easy to start, easy to go into details. So I would like to see if you guys are interested, we can try to have some collaboration in mainland China, in particularly in where I'm working. Yeah, as Morgan Sun Geospatial Lab. So I would like to have a collaboration with Xiaoli. Yeah, to see we have more discussion on that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we have scheduled some discussions to explore these kind of opportunities. Yeah, I think certainly it will be our pleasure to work with you and to do something interesting. Can I just maybe close by saying that thank you very much for answering all the questions, for giving the excellent talk. Yeah, I think we have a present prepared for Professor Chen. Yeah. Can we invite Professor Wang?
Finally, I'd like to thank all of you to come to this the distinguished lectures. And PAIR organizes distinguished lectures regularly, and I hope you will join our next lecture. And I also wanted to thank those nobody you are online or on site for asking questions. I think all your questions also contributed to this lecture very well. So on behalf of PAIR, I'd like to thank you again for your participation, and this lecture is adjourned. Thank you.